This is KGW News at Sunrise.
And there are like 6 to 7 gunshots going off. And they were just bam, 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 bam.
Neighbors reacting after a man shoots someone who allegedly broke into his car. What police are telling us after arresting the homeowner.
Also, a heads up this morning, a stretch of I-84 near I-205 will close starting tonight because of TriMet work, so we'll bring you all the latest on the expected delays. Plus,
a confusing history behind how Washington State got its name. Devin Haskins walks us through the process in a new edition of What's in a Name that's coming up at 5:15.
Looking forward to that. Good morning, everyone. Middle of the week, and we're expecting another really nice day. Few clouds out there this morning in places.
A little bit of a cool off. 83 yesterday, only the second time we've hit 80, and that became the warmest day by 2 degrees of the year so far. We are starting off with a marine push along the coast. We saw this yesterday, and eventually the clouds came into parts of the valley yesterday, but not all of the valley, and that could be the same situation we look at this morning. So here's Cannon Beach Live. Cloudy skies there. Still mostly clear over downtown Portland, but yesterday we clouded up, remember? And our modeling shows that we'll do the same this morning. Right now we're at 61 degrees, very comfortable outside. So mostly clear currently. We'll get some morning clouds. Then we'll be back to sunny and 66 at noon. And instead of 83, pardon me, I have a high temperature today of 76. Should be really nice.
Rob, thank you. We start off this morning in Vancouver, where a suspected car prowl ended in gunfire. The homeowner says he came out and caught a man breaking into his car, so he shot him. This happened around 2 o'clock Tuesday morning at Northeast 148th and Southeast 1st in Vancouver. Blair Best has reaction from people living nearby.
And there are like 6 to 7 gunshots going off. And they were just bam, 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 bam.
Julie Engstrom lives next door. After hearing gunshots, she called 911.
After living here all these years, this is the worst that's ever happened.
Police say the homeowner, 33-year-old Jacob Cantrell, also called 911, reporting he had found a man breaking into his car with a shovel and shot him multiple times in the driveway. The victim is in the hospital in critical condition. Police haven't said exactly what happened during the altercation, but they did arrest Cantrell and charged him with assault. One of the bullets went through Engstrom's RV.
And you'll see that it came up here and hit this right here, right up the top here. It goes straight through here.
It also was kind of surreal this morning.
Yeah, it happened at the house right there.
Belinda Olive Beltran's family lives across the street.
My granddaughter woke up. She heard the bullets, and she was terrified. Bullets don't have no names. It's just horrible.
There's lots of families in this neighborhood. I have children too, and I'm only 2 houses down, so it's a little unsettling to know that.
Blair Best, KGW News.
we're also following, I should say, developments from a homicide, 2 as a matter of fact, that happened earlier this week here in Portland.
The most recent happened Monday night at Raymond Park in southeast Portland. Officers responded to reports of a shooting around 10 o'clock, but by the time they got there, the victim had left in someone's car. An officer spotted that car near Southeast 122nd and Division and tried to provide first aid, but the person died. We talked to a woman who lives a few houses down the street from Raymond Park. She says there was a big celebration happening at the time of the shooting.
It's just not a good thing, and I don't like the reputation that it leaves the area. I don't want people to be scared to go to this park or any park in the city. I take it personally.
The second homicide happened near Northeast 81st and Siskiyou in the Roseway neighborhood. Officers found a body around 6 o'clock Monday night and say the victim did not die of natural causes. So far, no arrests in either case. We now know the name of the man shot and killed by police in Clackamas County over the weekend. He's 24-year-old Derek Clark. The Clackamas County DA's office says police pulled Clark over in Milwaukee on suspicion of DUI. The DA says Clark tried to speed away but drove into a ditch, then got out of the car armed with a gun. That's when an Oregon State trooper and Clackamas County Sheriff's deputy both shot Clark. A grand jury will now review the case.
All right, time to take a look at some other local headlines this morning, starting with this. A man was seriously injured in a crash with a Portland police officer. So this happened around 7:30 last night at Southeast 92nd and Holgate. Police say the man was driving a motorcycle on Holgate when he collided with a police cruiser that was responding to an emergency call. No word this morning on the officer's condition. Meanwhile, a federal judge sentenced an Indiana man to 10 years in prison for his role during Portland protests that happened 2 summers ago. Malik Muhammad pleaded guilty to 14 felony charges for tossing Molotov cocktails at police and vandalizing downtown businesses. During his hearing yesterday, Muhammad expressed remorse, saying that his involvement in the protest came at a time when he wasn't taking medication for his bipolar disorder. And our final story here is the surprising death of 25-year-old former Portland Trailblazer Caleb Swanigan. The Blazers drafted Swanigan in 2017. He played 3 seasons in the NBA with the Blazers and the Sacramento Kings. The coroner's office in Allen County, Indiana says Swanigan died in the hospital of natural causes. And those are some of this morning's local headlines.
We also have a traffic alert. This heads up for drivers today. A 2-mile stretch of I-84 near the I-205 interchange will close starting tonight as TriMet crews begin work on a new light rail bridge. The closures begin at 10 p.m. and last until 4 a.m. Monday morning. Drivers should expect heavier than normal traffic, especially on the dates and times listed there on your screen. Now, there will be a detour around the construction, but the Northeast 102nd on-ramp will also shut down. If you ride Max, no changes there. The project will not interrupt service.
Coming up on the Today Show this morning, they're talking about sharks and in how in some parts of the country they're swimming a lot closer to shore than usual. Scientists think it could have something to do with food. Researchers used to think sharks behaved like other large predators and tended to avoid humans, but a new report shows they might act more like scavengers, like raccoons or coyotes, which adapt in cities to take advantage of food and other resources.
I was literally shocked to find out that not only were the 3 different species of sharks coming to these areas, but they're spending some considerable time there, some of them for months.
So the Today Show is going to be in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with more on these findings coming up right after sunrise.
Well, our next stop here on the Sunrise Show this morning is the Puget Sound area of Seattle, where researchers are studying the impact that moon jellies, there they are, some moon jellies right there. So they're studying the impact that moon jellies could have on the food supply for salmon. Our sister station in Seattle spoke to those researchers and shared this report about the jelly swarms in the Sound.
Up close, you might recognize these moon jellies, a type of jellyfish common to Puget Sound. Something more spectacular, this view from overhead featuring a swarm of the species. Some biologists believe as oceans warm, their populations could increase more steadily, raising questions about their impact.
There can be thousands to millions of individuals in these groups, so we're wondering how much food they can eat and what impact that might have on Puget Sound.
During 3 summers, researchers from the University of Washington, Western Washington University, Highline College, and NOAA dropped nets in bays across the Sound, taking samples and determining low levels of zooplankton where moon jellies swarmed. Zooplankton are tiny animals also eaten by baby salmon and other forage fish.
We put jellyfish in tanks with zooplankton and measured how much zooplankton the jellyfish were eating. And we found that in just 2 hours, moon jellies were able to consume up to 75% of the copepods in the water in the tanks that they were in. So they are able to eat a lot of food really rapidly.
Now they're working to establish exact feeding rates and model what that could mean for other animals, depending on environmental conditions.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. Okay, we have another big weather story. We're coming up on the anniversary of that historic heat wave last June.
So before I show you this graphic, keep this in mind. I think it's hard to imagine this. I'm forecasting 96 degrees this coming Sunday. That is 20 degrees, or will be 20 degrees cooler than the hottest temperature of the heat wave.
It was insane.
That's hard to imagine, right? Absolutely. Drew?
No, well, I was wondering. I saw 3 90s on the board at one point this week. So when do we consider it to be a heat wave? Is 3 all it takes?
Yeah, we'll call that a mini heat wave. Okay. Nobody really knows. The news departments and weather departments go back and forth. It depends on the mood of the weather department.
Oh, okay.
That's funny. Nobody really knows.
Nobody really knows. What the heck is a heat wave? All right, so the anniversary comes up on the date, which would be this Sunday, June 26th. And that day a year ago, we went to 108, which became at the time, by 1 degree, the warmest we'd ever been. The old record that stood going all the way back into the 1980s was 107. All right, and then the following day we went to 112. Obviously, we've never been that hot. And then the finale, the third day, we went to 116. And again, a full 20 degrees hotter than the 96. I think it's hard to imagine that I'm forecasting this Sunday. And then on the 29th of June, we actually broke the record stretch of heat as we cooled. It was still warm. It was still hot, actually, as we cooled down to 93. We'll have more on that coming up in the coming days. Our dry pattern continuing all the way into the first part of next week. Yesterday was 83. Today, there's a little front up to the north of us. We're going to feed off of some of that cooler weather. So instead of 80s, 70s today and 70s tomorrow. Here's Futurecast at 8 o'clock this morning. Right now we have clouds at the coast, but we're still pretty clear inland. Not all weather models agree, but Futurecast likes us getting a marine push coming in again this morning like we saw yesterday. It also likes this one hanging out all the way into the early afternoon hours and then breaking for sunshine. So we'll see how much cloudiness we end up with, and if so, how long those clouds last. Perfectly clear up over the mountain again, Timberline. Typically not impacted by marine pushes of low-level moisture unless it's a really deep push. Here's the clouds and fog from our Uquinna Bay camera in Newport. You can't see much, and Portland's kind of in the middle with, right now, beautiful blue sky up top. 61 in the Rose City, 58 in our capital, also 58 degrees up in Kelso, and 50 out in John Day. 7-day forecast, mid-70s for comfort today and tomorrow, 84 on Friday, and then my latest weekend numbers, 92, 96 Sunday, 94 on Monday. Forecast models were in a bit of disagreement, but now all of them agree this is a 3-day run of 90-degree temperatures, then cooling off on Tuesday, and that's your forecast.
Ooh, toasty. I'll be ready for Tuesday. Rod, thank you.